Okay, I'd like to call the December 21st Committee of Whole meeting to order. We have all the trustees, George?
We have everybody here, correct?
Okay, great. Everyone is present. So with that being said, we will move on to the first discussion item, which is the financial update. Chris, you want to take the lead on that, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Georgie, I have a slide presentation.
Yep, I have it in here. There you go. Sorry about
Okay,
that.
there we go. So I just wanted to update the board on where we stand currently, and we're actually going into the budget process for the next year, for fiscal year 22. We're starting the process, so I kind of wanted to update the board just a little of our timeline and our calendar. So the current information right now, the cases are increasing, cold weather limits outdoor dining. The vaccinations are here, so hopefully in the springtime, we'll see some positive with outdoor dining, and as well as you'll see later the gaming as well, because the gaming revenue has declined drastically. The CARES Act funding, we're still waiting. We received the $183,000 from Cook County. We're still waiting for the additional 12 that they said that they were going to give us. And the FEMA funding, I've compiled all the information, but I'm just waiting. I'm adding the stuff through December, and then in January I'll submit for the funding. It's not going to be a lot. I'll probably be between 10 and 15,000 of funding that we are eligible for. And then, as I said, the fiscal year 22, we are in the early process. The departments have submitted their capital equipment, and the capital improvements project is going to be submitted at the end of this year. So we're getting ready to put the items together. Just on a side note, the capital equipment is the equipment that is funded through the vehicle sticker revenue, and that is the one that we actually put off for this fiscal year because when COVID, we thought the revenues were decreasing. So we decided to hold off, and so now we're kind of 1 year lag on equipment, and those are your police vehicles, your snow plows, really operational capital equipment. Some challenges. As I said before, the CARES funds from Cook County did not really cover any kind of funding, does not cover any of the revenue loss. All it covers is our expenditures, but absolutely zero revenue loss. Even FEMA, everything's just expenditures. Restaurant and gaming, as I said that before, revenue loss with the latest shutdown. Gaming was closed and then it opened, and then now it shut down as well. So unemployment, you'll see later, our past due utility accounts, we've made some headway in December. However, we do have a lot more delinquent utility accounts. We are working with the residents. The township is working with the residents, so we're trying to get them up to speed. And then also past due vehicle sticker accounts. As of right now, last year we had only about 700 of accounts that did not pay. This year we have about 1,600 the same time this year. And those were due August 1st. We extended it to October 1st, and now we're in the middle of December. So anyway, so that's where we are there. Uncertainty, as everybody knows, the global economy, the continued unemployment. We know the stimulus package, but we don't know what kind of, any delays or anything. The state budget, something came out, but it hasn't affected the municipalities as of yet. However, income tax, is around $1.5 million. We don't know if it's going to affect us at all. Local development continues to be strong. We're still waiting on the Main and Archer closing. We did have to issue the bond payments, the debt service December 1st. So the general fund has basically floated the Main and Archer, the debt service payment. And so we'll see, hopefully we could be refunded or reimbursed police pension, the possible additional funding that we discussed, and then expenditures. Expenditures are favorable right now, but we don't know with the weather or any of the snowfall or anything like that on overtime. State shared revenues, we are up 8% above budget projections. As I said before, we reduced it over 10% by 10% over fiscal year 20. So we're going in line with that. So non-home real sales tax is still way above our budget projections. Our state income tax is also above our budget projections. The state income tax, though, may be affected because, as you remember, they stretched it from April until July, and that's why the July receipts, were a lot higher. Now, if they extend the April at all, which I don't know if they would, but if they do, that would go into a different fiscal year. So we'll have to watch that revenue. We're watching all the revenues. Motor fuel tax, we're still above the budget projections because we did lower a little bit. We did receive the high growth funds, which we receive every single year, but I don't really budget it because it's something that they don't have to give it to us. They just, so it's an unknown. So I never really budget that portion of it. And then local use is still above because of internet sales. So as of right now, with our revenues, it's still strong. We will, we still have a conservative approach, so we don't get, that we can cover our revenues, can cover our expenditures. We did a lot of online initiatives. We've been doing online initiatives, but we have had a lot of online initiatives with due to COVID. So we don't have the people coming into the offices. I'm very, very pleased. We put in, it was an idea from one of the finance staffs to put in the form, the direct debit form into the water bills. And we received in the last month 136 forms. And that's an increase of 4.5%. And that is when the bill is due, we debit their accounts. So we don't have people coming in here. We don't have processing checks. And it's a free form. It's not a credit cards, we have to pay 2%. So it really benefits us. So we're real happy on that. And then we're also starting to pay our vendors on ACH. Last check run, we had 33 ACH payments versus checks. Once again, we don't have to cut checks. We don't have to mail checks. We don't have, it's an online, and it's very successful. In community development, they've done, over 99 requests for online inspections. Once again, the people don't, they don't have to come in here and request or the call. And so our online initiatives are going strong, and we're very, very pleased with them. Okay, so on the general fund revenues, I kind of alluded to a lot of that. We have the charges for services is a little down. That is that's our AT&T, our Comcast. We receive a portion of their sales, and I believe that they're down because they've been really promoting and giving a lot of deals out. So I have a feeling that was one of the reasons why it's down. On fees and fines, they're your parking tickets and a lot of those fees, and we're down on that area as well. Interest income, we remain strong on that. And then the internal governmental revenues, the breakdown is in the gray. You have your sales tax, your income tax, local use tax. Those are the larger ones in video gaming. And as I said before, the video gaming tax has gone down considerably. And that is because we haven't had that due to COVID. Licenses and permits, a portion of those licenses and permits, the reason why it's down is because I told you before the permits are strong, and they are. The licenses are the business licenses, which are renewed once a year. The business licenses, we extended, we deferred the renewal till February. So they're a little bit down on that. They're also a little bit down, about $50,000 down because of the vehicle stickers. So those are two revenues that I have it as yellow, but we're still we're monitoring it. But those are that's the reasons why that it's lower than last year, and at 81%. Miscellaneous revenues, those are just some reimbursements that we have, and some insurance reimbursements as well. And then the property taxes. And those are also, I believe those are lower too, because Cook County was due October 1st. And then they usually go and sell the property tax for the delinquents in November. I believe that was delayed because the due date was delayed. So there were a little bit less. And as you can see on the charts, we have the December sales tax is on the income tax. Oh, that was cut off. So the income tax is on your left with the purple. So as you can see, it's the income tax is trending above. Only the one below was June. And then as the spike, the reason why that spike was because that was when the income taxes were due. It was delayed versus in April. So they had the spike in April. And on the sales tax, we have the two lower ones are your home rule sales tax. That's why you have it lower. And then the other one on the top is your, and that's your teal here. And that is where we stand right now, and that's on the top. So as you can see, the December numbers came in, and we're still strong in the retail sales. And so I don't know how Christmas is going to be, but we're hoping that at least we'll come within budget. And I think we'll be within budget because I did reduce the budget. I wanted to pinpoint, and I didn't want to like an alarm. We are watching it. Vail has been absolutely wonderful with working with the customers. But as of November 30th, if you can see, the ones 2019, 2018, and 2017 are outstanding delinquents water bills for water and sewer as of April 30th. The blue one is as of November 30th. So as you can see, we have our outstanding water and sewer accounts are higher, almost double, almost triple higher than what we historically have. But like I said, we've been working with all our residents and trying to get them up to date. On expenditures, as I said, a lot of the expenditures are looking really good. A lot of the personnel ones are dealing with the fact that we don't have a lot of overtime right now. So this could all change with the weather. The capital outlay, I just want to say the one reason why it's a little bit higher, I still have to take a look at it, but it is where we had the budget in the previous year, and then the equipment came, and we were on a cash basis on that. So the expenditures. So we did do the the budget amendment for the police cars, but I'll have to check the other ones on that. And that was really the only one that is higher, but we had some equipment on order for that, but everything else looks really good on the general fund with the expenditures.
Chris, can I ask a quick question there on the last page?
Yes.
And this might relate to all of them. I see amended and year-to-date amount. Is the amended for the whole year, or is that amended year-to-date and then the year-to-date is the actual?
No, the amended is the amended budget. So that is for the entire year. And then the year to date is where we stand as of November 30th.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
So we don't budget, I would have to take it and divide it. We don't budget like on a monthly basis. We take basically it as a yearly basis. And then we would do seasonal, it would, we don't do it right now that way. So.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I was looking at it right. But still, I mean, 50%, we're about 50%. There's not half the year left in our budget. So that's good.
Okay, so cash and investment, I really wanted to.
Chris, this is Rick. I've got a question also.
Yep.
Up to this point, outstanding water. You mentioned that it was running higher, and my question on that: is it residential or is it business, or can't you tell?
Ooh, you know what? I ran it as the village as a whole.
Okay.
So I could break it out, residential and commercial. I can break that out.
I'm interested in that because businesses are getting some of the relief as the homeowners are not. So it'd be interesting to know who's paying.
Okay, yeah, I will break that out. That's no problem. Any other questions? Okay. I did want to say, I did want to point out where we are in cash and investments because, I should have gone out way in 2008, but we didn't have the system here. But we are in a very good financial position right now. The board has implemented a lot of policies and we're our expenditures are in control, and our revenues, even though they're down by almost 300,000 if you look from year to date from the last year, but we're very fiscally responsible. And so I kind of wanted to just to highlight, this is where we were. Now I do want to say the water and sewer fund does have, the $6 million is $5 million of the debt issuance for the well. So yes, okay, so you have to take the 5 million out. But if you look at the general fund and you look at the board and the residents voted in the 1% non-home rule sales tax, that affected our infrastructure fund. So the stuff we put into place years and years ago is really paying off for us. So we're very fiscally responsible, and I just kind of wanted to highlight that on that. So, and we're still doing infrastructure projects, so it's not like we're not doing any projects. It's just we're being fiscally responsible with the money.
Chris, the MFT went up 500,000. Is that due to the COVID money?
No, the MFT went up because of the funds that the Build America, they're going to give us $175,000 for, I think altogether it's like 350,000, and we received a portion of that already.
Oh, that's
That was
okay.
the new gas tax.
Yeah, got it.
The new gas tax, and then the Rebuild America, not Rebuild America, Rebuild Illinois funds.
Illinois, right.
And we have yes.
Chris, also, I just saw today that the returns on investments, while they were down 35% 1st of April, are now considered up 14.6 for the year. Are you seeing that?
Well,
in other words, all the losses came back and then some.
Yes. Now that would affect like our pension because all our investment income is basically fixed assets.
No, I'm talking about the pension.
Yes, and I have not, I have not looked at the reports. We just received the November reports today, so I've not really looked at them yet. But I'm assuming that they'll be a lot better than they were. But yeah, we're a fixed income market, so we're more the the federal interest income. So
well, I'm just trying to even out the panic that we had back in April with the parade we can have now in December.
That's true. So yeah. So in my next report, I will have some pension. I could have some pension investment where we are year to date. I can have that in our next report.
And Chris, and I could see Ralph there asking, let him spend some of that money on roads. And we've actually done a lot of projects, but I think we wanted to keep it a little bit slow out of the gate after the 1% sales tax to build up a fund balance. But you'll see but probably in January, we're going to get together and talk capital. We'll put that money to use and start continuing with our road program. So you'll see that in January.
And that's all in the infrastructure fund. Is that correct? Did we
and motor fuel, actually, because all that money went to the infrastructure fund. But as Rick mentioned and Chris, MFT, we've seen an increase, and that has not slowed down as much as they thought with COVID. And the capital, we'll get into this a little bit later, but the capital plan, those projects are still moving forward. So we're going to have some capital money from the state. So we'll be able to get on those projects.
Where does the 1% go?
The 1% goes into the infrastructure fund.
Okay.
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
And then the tax on the gas, while the mileage went down due to COVID with less driving, because of the increase on the highway fund, if you want to call it that, and or capital fund. Those dollars went up more than they almost doubled the tax. So it went from 19 to 38. So because of that, you'll realize a greater increase on the MFT, even though there was a 20% drop in mileage.
Yes. Yep. Okay, and then this is just a graph about where, where our money is, what percentage in what fund, just kind of see it graphically. And then in summary, basically, the village's revenue position remains within budget. And, I just always want to reduce, it's not like we're better than we were last year or anything like that. We reduced it in April, so we're ahead of the game. And so we remain within budget. We do, we have challenges. We have the water and sewer revenue, the video gaming fine revenues. And as like I said before, all the CARES funding and everything, nobody's helping basically in revenue loss. They'll only help in and expenditures. And then, and the commuter lots, I did want to point that out. I didn't have that because it's general fund. We had the yearly annual permit passes, and we receive around $44,000 worth of permit passes a year. And we're at 17,000 right now sold. And so between the permit and the daily, the daily we received each month, probably $3,000 to $4,000. We're now year to date from May 1st till now, we're at not even $1,000, $896. So the commuter parking lot fund is taking a hit. We do have a healthy fund balance for it, but we will have to start looking at it if, in the first quarter and the second quarter, if it doesn't come back, we need to start looking at what we want to do with that area. We're continuing to monitor and adjust revenue forecasts. We're continuing with online implementation that helps, with receiving the payments. And like I said, credit cards are not always, because we absorb all the credit card fees. So online implementation, direct debit is the way to go, because then it doesn't affect us as much. And then for FY22, we're going to be conservative with lower revenue projections, or at least stay within. However, with this new stimulus plan now, maybe we can, we have to really see, because I don't know once everything starts opening, are we going to be back to normal, or is it going to go slowly, and then we'll be, I don't know when. I don't have a crystal ball. The next steps on that, for the next slide, the next steps is basically November, we kicked off the process with the departments, the budget process. In January, the COW meeting, and I know George said we have to discuss about when we're going to have the COW meeting. We're going to discuss again where we are year to date. It's good to look at everything monthly for it, especially the way things are progressing right now with the sales tax and everything. It's good to review everything on a monthly basis. Look at the assumptions for the capital, discuss maybe the MFT and the infrastructure, as well as the equipment that we had a delay this year. In February, we'll discuss the capital improvement plan and the equipment plan. And then March, we would present a proposed operating budget to the board. March COW discuss it, and then in April adopt the budget. And you do remember, we really, really wanted to switch our fiscal year, thought it would be a good idea, but the way our ERP system is, it would have cost us, $50,000 to $80,000 just to convert everything over, and we didn't really feel that would be beneficial use of funds.
Hey, Chris, just to piggyback off that. So the water and sewer fund has 6.5 million in cash and investments. And I know earlier today, that 6.5 million, we have basically 5 million that we set aside for additional, I think, well and storage.
Yes.
We need to continue to carry money in there for emergencies, for pumps and maintenance, as Ralph, as you well know. We still need a alternate solution for backup We were just talking about that today, right, George? To connect to Chicago. I mean, we have more than enough projects than money in that fund, but I mean, I think that 6.5 million, if someone was looking at it, they'd say, oh my God, they're killing it, but we actually went to bond for how much to increase that amount? What was the total amount? 5 million?
5 million, it was, yeah. Mhm. So, yeah,
I just want to make sure everyone understands that, hey, we bonded 5 million, that's what increased it. We actually went down from 2.2 to 1.5 million if you take 5 million out. And, you know, we still have a storage issue that we need to take care of. Not going to spend time on it now, that's for another meeting. You know, we were talking with the church about it, maybe we move on from that farther out east. But again, just want to keep that in mind as we go into the budget season. And we will address that during those infrastructure talks, right, Chris?
yes, this is not just operating money, this is operating capital money. The entire, the 15 million is operating in capital. So yes, so the water sewer that's designated for capital.
Okay, great, thanks.
And just to touch on what Chris mentioned about 83 in Maine and the land payment, we had anticipated before April 30th, the end of our fiscal year, to close on the sale of our property so that we could cover that bond. There are everything's moving forward, other than there are two real estate issues that are outstanding, one with IDOT, one with Cook County. And, you know, COVID has taken a bite out of that for sure, with folks at IDOT, Cook County working from home, and things are a little bit slower than usual. That may go into next fiscal year, but we have a plan to cover with the general fund, but reimburse ourselves if that does fall after May 1st. But probably more with Bluestone in the new year, but right now just waiting on those two real estate issues. We got consultants working on it. I know Rick tried, you know, he did a great job making a couple calls, and you know, some other folks, but we're on it. We can only move as fast as IDOT and Cook County. So
Great. All right. Any other questions or comments for Chris? Okay, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Great job again. Next up, the Trail Connection Bridge over by Stevens Street. Jason, you taking this, buddy? Jason, you there?
I am. I had a.
All right. Good man.
I'll stop.
Oh, yeah. We just wanted to bring people up to speed with this project. It's a pretty major one, and wanted to make sure everybody knew we're continuing on with this as well. So the most important news was the support that we got from Representative Lipinski. The U.S. Coast Guard has jurisdiction over the sanitary and ship canal, and so we need to have their support to put this bridge across, connecting the Centennial Trail on the north side of the sanitary and ship canal to Stevens Street on the south side and into downtown. And you may have heard initially they sent me a message saying that the bridge would have to be 50 feet above the water. With Lipinski's help, they've agreed to lower that to 25 feet, which is perfect. It's just about exactly where we need it to be. And so we are working with Terra Engineers, the main engineer. Collins is the sub that will be handling the Coast Guard permit. And we're going to, in the new year, coordinate with the Coast Guard, get the mayor on the call with them as well. And before Lipinski leaves office, make sure all that is buttoned up.
So
but
we need to get Mike.
yeah, Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking to George. So we, just so I understand, on the north side of the canal, that is what we think is easements. Is that correct? And we're going to look into that?
We have an old right-of-way. It's confirmed by the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. You know, if you could picture where Stevens Street would continue historically over the canal, and then you could follow that road to where Old Lamont Road is. That is the existing right-of-way that the village was going to use. So that was the first conversation we had with the MWRD. Did we have right-of-way? I think the conversations are with the with the leaseholders out there, such as Ozinga, so that they know that we're going to be coming in and using it.
Jason, any idea off the top of your head, how wide is that right of way? And will we need to infringe on Ozinga at all?
Well, yeah, it does cross. I'm looking at my other.
I mean, you don't need to answer it now, but I just,
And I think from the mayor's, I think because they're,
I think it's at least a 33-foot right of way. If I had to guess, it could be a full 60-foot right of way, 66 foot.
They may be infringing on us right now.
yeah, I think we've just noticed they've been using it, and that's just something that we have to coordinate with Ozinga. before
oh,
we
they're
get too
using
far.
it. They're using it. You go down there, there's mounds about, they're mountains now. And they were never on the east side of Lamont Road. Now they have like piles about 30 feet high almost. So they're definitely using it.
As we've said, it's important to note that the sanitary and ship canal, some of the locks were closed for maintenance. And so all the companies there were stockpiling basically, and Rick's probably familiar with this being in the industry that he's in. So I think that's why you see so much material there, is they weren't going to be able to move material north and south of Lockport. And I don't know what the status is of those.
That's done. They
Is that-
finished that, Jason? Yeah, but typically in the winter, there's a lot of stockpiling because the river does freeze, or could. And when that happens, then they're blocked out during the winter. So generally you'll see stockpiling late fall, early winter.
Yeah, that area is important for us because we want to put a parking lot or trailhead there to get people off the road that the trucks use. And Trustee Mauer and I were talking too. We want to work with the consulting engineer. The initial design shows the trail bridge starting, quote unquote, starting at the Centennial Trail, which is on the other side of that road. And we'd like to keep the start of that trail bridge south of the road so that cyclists don't have to cross that road. It's pretty hairy over there if you've been back there on a bike.
Yeah, Jason, I'm a broken record on this, but we need to continue to stay in touch with our friends at Ozinga.
Absolutely.
Again, I just don't want us to, they've been very good. They've been very positive, but sometimes you need something in writing. But it's one thing to have the right of way. It's another thing to have space for parking as well, which I think they were amicable to, but then, things might change with their operations where they're like, oh, wait a second, we can't do that because, we need this extra storage, so forth, so on.
Jason, I have a question. Along the Des Plaines River, where this bridge where the trail ends going east, there is what's the plans for that? Are we improving along between the two bridges, between the Lamont Road and the tracks?
It hasn't been part of our application. We have on our list of things to do to talk to Cook County Forest Preserve District because they lease that. And so we would want to get that on sort of on their radar, I guess.
Yeah, because right now, if you stop there, you can't go east. I don't think you can.
Right. Yeah, you kind of have to go on the road.
Yeah.
Well, that would be, just to kind of jump on there, to get that section paved, although, does it go under the tracks there, do you know?
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay, that would be, really safer for everyone.
Yeah.
And then that would, Jason, that to me would only be the only real reason for us to extend as far north as this is showing, is if we want to take that section of the trail, if they pave it.
Right.
Because then you're dumping it off. But as of now, you dump off there and then you have to come back down. It's just an extended of a trail that seems to be a waste.
We should see if Ozinga or the mulch company want to help us, because I'm sure the mulch company would be happy if it was diverted along the Des Plaines River. It'll be less headaches for bikers going around that bend. I'm sure that they'd kick in a few dollars.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I agree. It's not a big stretch either, so it'd be interesting to see how much it would cost to David, Ozinga may want to put cement down instead of asphalt, but
I don't think that'd be a question.
but I'd be fine with cement too. So
Yeah, but you wouldn't need an 8-inch design for that. You could get by with a sidewalk if we're running bikes.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, Jason, Ken, that's a good point. And Dave, you know this as better than anyone. Right now, George, you want to just, or Jason, you want to just circle where bikes have to go right now. You have to go around the bend underneath, keep going down. Go down though.
South.
Yeah, south. Yeah, you got to go underneath that bridge, which is a blind bridge, right? When you're going through there.
Yeah.
And then, so I think definitely part of the project, for it to really make sense, you have to get that along the Des Plaines River, and it would make things safer, but more importantly, it would make it very distinct to have a sign, hey, downtown Lamont to your left if you're coming from the east, and vice versa if you're coming from the west.
Right.
And Dave and Ken, you said that trail to the north of that bend does go under the railroad tracks?
I think it does, Rick, yeah.
I've actually not taken that stretch because it's gravel right now, I think. But I'll try to get out there in the next week just to see.
Yeah, I haven't either. I'm assuming that the bridge is elevated so much that it would, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I just don't know if there's an opening there is my point.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd think just, people would just normally take that and it would have been a created thoroughfare rather than going around that bend.
Well, what happens, Rick, though, on this trail is they did put some frontage in when they were putting up the fencing. They kind of cut cut a trail out, but they put a bunch of a big stone down as opposed to a crushed limestone or even an asphalt or a cement. So most of this trail, you do get probably 50% of the people on here on a road bike, so smaller tires. So they couldn't ride on it. Like for me, when I'm out there, I'm always on a smaller bike. So I can't even ride on there, even if it did go under. So I've never actually tried that stretch. So I'll take a different bike out there to try to stretch. But the other thing is, if you go Jason, if you go along that stretch along the Des Plaines to the train tracks and go just east of the train track, there's like a opening there, and then there's like a right there. This is not. It doesn't look like trailish when you get in here. This kind of looks like so people wouldn't think of going in there, I guess is my point. It just kind of looks like a forest little stretch.
Okay.
So you wouldn't see a biker try to get in there. Yeah.
I'll go look. I'm just saying. Yeah. All right.
But
Normally there's like a car parked there.
Yeah, there used to be a boat there forever too. Like a abandoned boat used to sit in there. So.
And you're saying regardless of which direction you come from, east or west, up to the tracks, it just looks like it's overgrown or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you go from Lamont Road to do, but it doesn't mean it's not. If you can get underneath the train tracks, that is so much better and safer.
Right.
So
yeah, it just on this. I don't know how old this photograph is. Typically, these things are fairly new. I mean, you could clearly see that there was a path up to and or under it on both sides.
Yeah, and like I said, when they did the fencing for the Asian carp, they cut a bunch of trails right along the Des Plaines, and this might have been an area they cut. But I'll get out there this week and check and see if there's actually a bridge there. Because I can take one.
And what about like that little creek to the west of the tracks? Does the trail go over that, or you see? Keep going. Right there. Oh, just to the left. You see where that? It looks like a creek. There. Yeah, right there.
I've not actually been back there. I think that's the gas company, right? Is there?
Well, I'm just looking where the trail seems to cross it.
Yeah.
Is it going over it, under it?
I'll take some pictures out there and take a look when I go out there. So.
Yeah, I just brought it up on Google Earth on 3D. It looks like if there is an underpass, it's really close to the water. It might not follow the path we see there. So like Dave said, we got to go out there and check it out. But it looks like a great idea from this picture. As long as
Yeah.
we could get underneath the,
Looks like it's already there.
yeah, we could build a ramp where you have to like jump the tracks or something. All right, go ahead, Jason. Sorry to bog you down there.
No, that was all I had. We'll continue to work with the Coast Guard and just wanted to make sure everybody heard that it's moving along and give our thanks to Representative Lipinski for coordinating the effort with the Coast Guard to listen to, just listen to
And-
them.
And Jason, the estimate that is in the package that we got, was that put together by Tara?
Yeah, that was put together by Terra Engineering. That was included
Okay.
as part of our ITAP application. That's the
Okay.
Application Enhancement Program.
Hey, Jason, real quick, can you I can't understand these drawings. I'm not a architect or an
I have
engineer.
kind of a funky,
You gotta you gotta look at the match lines.
You want to grab the screen, Jason, or no? Do you have it, or I'll
Yeah,
stop here. All right.
all right.
And if no one wants to look at it, we could just do it in person, but.
No, I'm interested
This is
as
the
well.
fun stuff. Come on.
Exactly.
My weak attempt at Photoshop here.
Oh, there you go.
So this is essentially, I think it's pretty good. So we'll start here at Lamont Road. This is roughly the trail. I may have had it a little bit off, but roughly there. It goes underneath the bridge. So here, this part, Mayor, green here, this is actually the IDOT right of way. This is the only area of concern over here where it may go into, it looks like it's outside of our right of way, but then there's right of way here, you could see. And then right away crossing the bridge, crossing the canal. Again, they don't totally line up, but I tried my best. And then it comes back down and lets you out at Industrial Bank Road.
Got it. So where does it elevate? And maybe that's the next segue, but is that trail elevated how far north?
On this side,
Yeah, so keep going north. I would assume, when does it actually start to ramp down?
it kind of goes through the whole thing. That's why it's as long as it is. And that's why on the south side they're able to do like just a little bit loop. They're trying to keep everything within this right of way. So it kind of that's why it has these kind of layered little like wobbles and turns to it. It's actually, rising up this whole way.
I think the middle of the canal is the highest point, I believe.
Yeah, it's at 25 feet above the water there.
So it lands on underneath Lamont Road, is that correct? Underneath the bridge?
Yeah, right here. So we're
Okay.
working with IDOT. That's one of the main delays right now. They have to provide an environmental sign off, and that's more than just, the natural environment. They also look at archaeology and historic preservation and all these things. We don't think it's an issue and that they'll find anything. It just takes a long time. And part of that is we have told them that we would like to, use a portion of their right of way. We've had a kickoff meeting and one second meeting with IDOT, and in both instances, they had no objection to using the right of way here. We would just have to complete the whatever forms or whatever they need us to do.
So our right of way ends once we get underneath the bridge?
Yeah,
Okay.
roughly.
All right, cool.
Well, a lot of details to fall in place, but
Yeah.
Jason mentioned the important part, getting that clearance down to 25 feet. I mean, it becomes a reasonable, practical project, I guess now, 2.5 million. Couple other funding sources we're in for, ITAP, CMAC will be later on in the year, or later on in 2021, I should say. So yeah, just try to.
But real quick, the 2.5 million, if it's ITAP, is it 25%? What percentage are we on the hook for then?
ITEP, I believe, is 20%, 20 or 25. Southwest Conference is 20%. With Congress just passing a bill, there could be earmarks out there. So we'll tackle everything we can, but usually there's about a 20% match locally.
I have a quick question, Jason, regarding where the trail starts. Is Terra, are they working with the park district as far as, I'm sure they are though, but probably a silly question. Like where that trail starts, that's the park districts are aware that's where we want.
Yep. Yeah, Ken, it's changed a little bit since the good news from the Coast Guard. So we'll touch on that next, and they're aware of it. It definitely it'll go in likely into Tri-Central property, just because you don't want to, and when you think about it, you don't want to bring bikers immediately on Stevens Street and meet a car there. So it makes sense to veer off a little bit, but we'll share that with the park district. And it might just be a little gravel. It'll be at grade pretty much right there, Jason, right? It'll be kind of a gravel.
Yeah, and when we had our joint meeting with the park district, we showed them the 50-foot in the air plan, and if you remember, that had a big ramp that looped around that parking area. I know the plans. I mean, everything's still kind of just on paper, but I think over in this corner too, they had plans for native plantings and things like that. So we'll be able to work together with that.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason, on the south side and on the north side. So on the south side, where does the bridge actually start? Where does it start to get elevated on the south side?
All through here, actually, because it needs to get up. And look over here. It's almost
25 feet.
4.8% slope this whole way. It's almost a straight line.
Yeah,
If you look at the profile.
25 feet above at the middle.
It's 25 feet above the water line, though, right?
Yeah, I think it's only it's only like a 7-foot incline max from the very start to the very middle of the bridge and all the way back again.
Okay. And then
because there's the old like embankment here, it's not really that much up. I think Ken's probably right, 7 feet or so from the top of the embankment to the bottom of the bridge.
Okay, and then on the north side, where does it come back to the ground again? In this drawing.
Quite a ways. Let me see, 15.
I think where you've some sand. It looks like a sand pit right there, just north of there. There's a big mound right there. That's where the elevation. If you look at the elevation, every streak is like a foot on the plans. But just to the right of the canal, there's a little white right there, right where that's all elevated right there. That's where they're going to catch it right there.
Okay, and then when does it go back to the ground? Like when does it meet up with the ground? Is it all the way on the northern point under the bridge?
I don't understand.
No, it's ahead of this match line. I would say it's about really honestly about here. It's already at grade.
Okay, it's at grade. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Okay.
Yeah, those grades are elevated too, Dave. All along there, there's like big mounds.
Yeah.
From where the old Lamont Road used to be.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out how much of this is bridge and how much might just be kind of a let's say road.
I see. Yeah.
I think was it 190 feet of actual bridge structure, and then I think
that's correct.
Then they add elevations to they actually I think they elevate the grades so that you're hitting grade.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
On that engineer's estimate, it gives that 190 foot, Ken. Thanks.
I think the bridge itself is only like 600-700 grand. The rest of it's all. I don't know what it is.
John Ronan gets his hands on it.
Yeah.
Put a 0 on it. All right. Well,
Thank you.
all right. Good segue into the Tri-Central, because I was mentioning parking on the north side. George had a great point, but let's just talk about the Tri-Central, then we'll talk about.
So it's a good segue into Tri-Centrals. We're talking about both projects, side by side being engineered. Is where do you want to put resources on, the landing place for bikers? You could do both or just one and prioritize, but let me just go back to give a brief update on Tri-Central. And two things, just want to give an update on what's the Park District's activities with engineering and their environmental studies, but also talk about our funding opportunities that we have through state grants that I'd like to talk about allocating to this project. But a few months ago, if you recall, the village partnered with the Park District to lease 27 acres of open space at the old Tri-Central site right at the foot of Stevens Street. We were just talking about the entranceway from our bike bridge. We're able to Photoshop what long-term, again, this is a 20, 30-year plan, but there's an opportunity here in the first couple years to really kickstart it with some grant money, start with some restoration work, maybe a path, parking lot, and then over time, see how it builds with the Park District. But what they're got an update last week. They're finishing up phase 2 engineering studies. That includes tree surveys. Anytime you work with the district, you have to do tree surveys. I know we kind of laugh. They did find, I think, 20 out of the 350 trees we're saving. I'd like to see which 20 they are. But so yeah, the tree survey, there's some pooling of water. So they're having to do some wetland studying just to rule everything out. But the project is moving forward, and two different things, and I could speak on our behalf and also the park. Talk to the park. They have funds budgeted in next year's budget of about $500,000 to give towards remediation and groundwork or site work. We have a couple opportunities through grants. One item is to finish up Stevens Street, and this is a state grant from last year that's finally being programmed to install a water main or replace a water main. There's a 4-inch line that goes from where am I at? River Road all the way north to Tri-Central. It's a 4-inch line that needs to be replaced. It also serves all the residents here on the east side of Stevens Street and MWRD. We have that in design right now to install new water main. It's a tough project, a lot of stone to cut through, and then also finish off the resurfacing. So you'll have a freshly resurfaced road all the way down Stevens Street under the bridge. The other opportunity we have is through the state capital bill. We received a $500,000 allocation for general infrastructure. When Senator Curran reached out prior to the capital bill going into play, he asked for some projects, and this was one of them. And that's one thing I'd like to talk to you guys about. Formally kind of trying to authorize that $500,000 towards this project. It's in the IGA that way. That money is safe as that's capital bond money. It's not state general fund money. I know everything's being cut right now, but that should happen next year. And between the two of us, we could get this project started next year. So those are the two projects we have, and it would come from grant funding. Really no local match other than Stevens Street. We might have to cover the resurfacing portion. That might not be eligible, but the majority of it will be state funds to kickstart the project. So.
And not to, I'm just saying from an accounting standpoint, Chris, I don't know if Chris is still on, but this is a water project that's going underneath Stevens Street. So I'm just saying, what I'm getting at is if you kind of have, if we think there's funds in the water fund that we're not using, you could always use the money in the general fund is where I'm getting at.
Right.
But again, this is a water main that runs under Stevens Street. We're going to expand it from 4 to 6 inches or?
It probably would, Ralph, would we go to a 12-inch there or 8-inch?
You mean under the railroad is where it's.
Under the railroad. We would take it from River Road all the way to the site.
Right.
It would be a minimum of 8 inches, George.
Yeah. And again, it serves all the homes on the east side plus MWRD. And then, again, there won't be any structures at this site, but it'll be, potential band shell long-term, but even shorter term, bathrooms, water fountains. So I think it's a good improvement. And then to just finish off Stevens Street with the water main improvement. But, after the initial, whether it be $500,000 from the village, $500,000 from the park, you could have a situation where, you could get most of the earthwork done and then maybe a parking lot of some sort. So yeah, you're starting to see both projects, the bridge and Tri-Central, come together here. This is just, rendering before I think our plans changed on the bridge. So we'll get it updated or send it over to the Park District to make sure there's no conflict, but potential for a parking lot. And that's where this could be the, the trailhead, or you have two trailheads, north and south side. But there's definitely enough room for both. And the park over time would like to put a play piece out here. Some other infrastructure improvements, but yeah, it seems to be moving.
Unfortunately, we didn't have this bridge up 20 years ago. We could have ran water right alongside the bridge. There's no reason to run water north of the canal now, is there?
Unless one of the canal users needed water.
I mean, that's something to think about during design, Jason. I mean, again, I'm not trying to throw a monkey wrench in it, but something we should definitely, I mean, we now have the ability to get water across this plains, and it's,
Good point.
granted, I don't know how you get it past, we get it past ship and sanitary, we can't get it past this plains, so maybe, I don't know.
Right.
Zinga, my dear.
Anyway.
Right.
I see Rick's hand up. Rick?
Yeah, I wanted to just say that if we're going to move forward, like you said, George, I think it's really important to show incremental gains, similar to what's on the phasing. I'm not saying particular to the phasing. I'm just saying whatever we do, we need to show an end result wherever we stop at that point. In other words, we don't run water out there to nowhere with no conclusion of benefit. What you don't want to do is spend the money and then never utilize it. So my point is, incrementally, we should show an end result.
Yeah, good point.
Just as it is in the phasing, like you said, George, you'd show parking and the trail end ahead that you're referring to. That might be the first thing you do, but we don't want to run a water main over to nowhere. So we want to make sure that we're looking at the budget for the bathrooms and those types of things so that we can conclude with an improvement, not just have the water go 600 feet and end and never be developed.
Dave, Dave, you got your hand up too?
Yeah. I just wanted to. There was something I noticed that I didn't notice before on the maps. Jason, it's showing us crushed limestone at the start and the end of the bridge, and that should be asphalt to be consistent with the trail out there. Otherwise, you're going to limit a significant amount of the people having the ability to actually use that bridge. So,
Agreed. Good catch.
yeah, I noticed it on both sides. Sorry to interrupt or to go off.
We don't want you to get a flat tire, Dave.
You know what? Road bikers wouldn't even go on there. That's the problem. Is you just would eliminate people from even wanting to use it.
Well, there's in the budget here that was prepared by Terra, there's 300 ton of asphalt, 3-inch. So it must be going somewhere.
Well, the map here that I'm seeing on page, sorry, John, to go back to this. On page 11. Looks to me that from industrial park up to the trailhead it says proposed gravel path, limestone screening, and the north side says the same thing on page 11.
Yeah, the limestone screening would be similar to the paths that are out at the forge that I was on yesterday.
Yeah, but the Centennial Trail is actually asphalt. And the rest of this is asphalt. So yeah, so you limit probably potential strollers and but more importantly, any type of road bike, which is at least 50% of the trail.
It would be asphalt.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah, I was just thinking, and Rick, your point on this project, I think you're right in terms of, I think by the time we're almost there, the next couple months, we should have a clear end game of where we're going to be at the end of phase 0, because we kind of have to work hand in hand with the park district, and they have to be able to pitch in what they're going to pitch in. We're going to allocate what we need to allocate, and what can we actually get accomplished over the next year to 18 months as kind of this finished phase 0 and maybe phase 1. And then the future, who knows if, I think the park is, we should all be concerned with, COVID, but discretionary grants like the OSLOD grants at the state level are probably not going to be there for a little while unless, with the state's budget being where it's at. I know Rounder cut it for a couple of years. And so I think future phases might be years away. Let's figure out, and we could do that the next couple months in design before we start allocating all these dollars. What can we actually get done over a couple month period or the first phase 0 and phase 1. So we're all aware.
Right. All I'm saying is if we're going to spend the money to get water over there, then we should at least put a water fountain over there.
Yep.
We shouldn't just run whatever it is, Ralph helped me out, the 400 feet of water main to nowhere and then never see the progression of work happening. So we should conclude with something at that endpoint, whatever it is. And that's all.
Okay. Yeah.
So the park districts, they got to get their bathrooms there for phase 1.
Yeah. And the parking lot, I think, the parking lot, whether it be a crushed gravel or something similar to what you have out at the Forge, those are all details we can work out. But I think we want, at a bare minimum for phase 0, a small pathway, parking lot, and then the bathrooms, and then you build on it from there. And maybe you fence it off for the remainder of the project. You don't want people wandering back there. But we should have I think I agree. We'll pass that along to the park. Let's come up with a final goal for phase 0 and 1 and when we can get it done.
So George, if I can butt in really quick.
Yeah.
If anything, north of River Road, there are no operating fire hydrants. So we would be adding fire protection to that end of Stevens Street with the addition of that water main.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't want it to be the song by the Talking Heads. We're on a road to nowhere. I don't want that to happen.
So those houses, because there's houses north of
They're all
the river.
they're all on the 4-inch. Those houses on the east side of Stephen are all on the 4-inch line, Ralph.
They are. Everything
Yes.
north of River. Everything north of River is non-operational as far as fire hydrants. So
Oh, really? So if there's a fire there, they're not on a hydrant?
What does
Well,
MWRD do? Do they have anything?
that's a long story. So the MWRD put all new water mains on their property, but they're fed off a 4-inch from the village. So they have 12-inch water mains on their property, which would evacuate the 4-inch that's feeding them. So we told them that, but they didn't want to listen, and they do what they want to do over at the MWRD. So anyway, this would be an improvement regardless of what we do, if we add that water main.
Okay.
I have a question. What about sewers down there?
There is a sanitary sewer run.
Okay.
Goes right into the plant.
But we won't have sewer to the park, though, will we?
I think because the shallow stone, it might end up being a septic solution. Those are,
Okay.
yeah, I
just
know,
detail.
Ralph, you got to get that out of Jim Kankar. Sometimes he speaks engineering and,
Yeah.
he's like, you don't
I
want to
think
do
I
that.
think that would be a lift station situation where
Yeah.
the sewage would have to be pumped south.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's, moving forward. And I think I shared these last time, here's kind of your designated phase 0 and 1. That you could even fence it off from there. Phase 2, more open space and athletic fields. And then phase 3 is really the entire site. So.
Yeah, that was one other thing I noticed too, and I'm sure somewhere down the line it'll be coordinated, but with the bridge project, it's landing now right at the existing entrance to Tri-Central. So we need to make sure that we don't cut ourselves off at the driveway with the structure now going up in the air that we can't get a roadway in if that's what we're going to use as the entrance, because it would line up right with that parking lot.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, the next iteration, we'll have to, and that's all.
Before we had that big loop when we were going higher, and believe me, I mean, the big deal is getting that lower. So that's great. But by lowering it, we also lower all the elevations there right by the driveway, if that's where we're going to land with that loop, that partial loop we have now, as opposed to the circular full-blown loop we had before because it had to go higher. Either way, you're going to create either a mound of dirt or some sort of pier, and it's going to be right the way it's drawn on the plans. It's going to come right into the existing entrance to the Tri-Central property.
All right.
Either I'm just dreaming, you guys didn't hear me, or you don't.
No, you're good.
Oh, no, you're right.
I think it's just the,
Yeah, bottom line
I
is,
think
is
the
the
next
elevations have
iteration
changed.
of design needs to include how that's all going to work.
Yeah, we just need to make sure.
We need to coordinate the two projects, like you said originally.
Yeah,
That's very important, so we don't cut ourselves off. Exactly.
Yep.
yeah, because someone has to take the lead now, since we're bringing the bridge down, where does the parking go? So forth.
Exactly.
But George had a good point when we were on mute earlier. I was asking about parking on the north side of the ship and sanitary. We probably don't want parking there. We should force everyone to park, like George said, on the south side here, because you force people to start their route basically driving through downtown. So if you want to hop on this trail, right now, it's a pain. It really is a pain, because you have to basically cross the Lamont Bridge, go in Narrow Zinga, try and find a parking spot somewhere Narrow Zinga. If you can't, you gotta drive your car about 1.5 miles east, and then park, where the DePage trails start, Dave, where you well know. So I think maybe, having no parking on the north end might be advantageous.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree
Well, you
with
got
that,
the
John.
parking shown here on this drawing right there, right under the bridge, right? Isn't that all parking?
Yeah, but what I was talking about when I started this conversation earlier, I'm like, oh, Zynga talked about getting parking on the north side. I think it'd be probably advantageous for us to limit parking on the north side.
Yeah.
Granted, if there's a boat launch there, maybe you have some sort of boat launch, type of parking or staging or something like that. But really, I
I
think,
think the advantage of the north too, though, is that, these are details that can be worked out, but is that everyone now, they kind of go on a weekend, they'll park anywhere and it gets real cluttered. So just it's messaging where we want to send people and,
send them downtown, send them through downtown.
Yeah, I that's how I envisioned it as well, John, is trying to get people to park on that trail in downtown Lamont, then take the bridge over to the trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I see it, especially because even other than this section where the bridge is going in the landing zone, there's not a lot of space.
Yeah.
And so this does give people space, and I would expect more people to park down here because it's an organized lot.
Yeah, I think really to kind of wrap this up, what we'd want to then do is have, this is down the road, but from the parking lot, what type of trails do we have? Not trails, but just pass on Stevens Street to get people into, the brewery or into the, shops and bars downtown. I mean, we just need I know that bridge pathway underneath the Stevens Street, what is that, the BNSF line?
yeah.
That might be a little tight, but anyway, just food for thought for down the road.
Yep.
Anything else on Tri-Central, gang?
Before I leave, kind of parks in the downtown, I did want to bring up, again, and I can send this out, but these are just cross sections of, how it would lay out, looking east and west in relation to, sanitary ship canal, industrial road. So a lot of good opportunities here. And then these are there's the airplane coming in there. But no, I did want to, talk a little bit about, I remember, if you recall, I think it was a few months ago, we talked about, the outdoor fitness park. The park district's really excited about it, and they've been contacting Ralph, and there's opportunities to do these outdoor fitness parks and looking at a couple spots in town. We're happy to see the Park District want to put it downtown. We kind of looked at some of our old plans and you could see, what we talked about before, the master plans from 15, 20 years ago kind of envision, utilizing dead space underneath bridges and for parks and those type of activities. So that is one thing we've looked at, and here's just a good opportunity. I brought this up to a couple of the committees, and here's an article from Chicago Tribune on these outdoor fitness parks, and there's grants available from the state park organization, and but you can kind of see here's one that went into Oak Lawn, and these can be retrofitted or changed. The branding could change, colors can be manipulated if you don't like the bright blue. But you can kind of, I don't know if you've seen these in park districts or forest preserves, kind of these outdoor shells that include, you can hold classes, the park district could hold classes, or it just could be for residents of the downtown or the rest of the town to come and recreate. You could see how it works. You've probably seen these in different parks and areas. One area that we've looked at, and basically what you need before I go into that, you would need a 30 by 30 foot concrete slab. And that's one area where we told the park district we can work with them on. If it becomes over, 20,000, we'd have to bid it out, but it is something that we can contribute towards the project if the rest of it is covered by the park district or sponsorship. But just finding an area for it. This is one area that we looked at. It's under the State Street Bridge, kind of has some good synergies with this open space area next to the Front Street Lofts. This is where all the large ornaments are right now. And if you lay it out, it's really not, this looks smaller than it is. A 30 by 30 slab, you could fit it all in that right of way between Front Street and River, while staying away from, and we've asked the park to stay away from this right of way. It looks like it's our right of way, it's our road. This actually, where I have my cursor, is railroad right of way. So we wanted to stay away from putting anything near the railroad. And so everything would be south of that line. So this is kind of how it would lay out. And, I want to get everyone's thoughts. Again, there would have to be an IGA between the village and the park to kind of put this together and work on it together. I think the spot is really good just because it is, what else are you going to do with it? It's kind of an eyesore. I'm not going to, maybe can paint the bridge here. I don't know, but the rough spots will still be there. But you can kind of see where the natural shade during this time of day, that's kind of where it would be. It would be a 30 by 30 slab underneath the bridge, and just wanted to see if anybody had any other thoughts before, we put this out and get engineers' estimates and put it out to bid. Any other thoughts on the overall project of putting it in this location, and you think it'd be useful for the downtown?
Yeah, I think last time we mentioned it, it's better than nothing, right? So it's a grant that I believe they're getting as well, right?
Correct. Yeah, and they would have to spend some money too. And then also they were hoping to get sponsorships, and we'll see how that's going to turn out with COVID. But if you wanted to go from traditional blue to the village colors or the park district colors to really make it look a lot nicer.
I'm staying out of the whole color scheme, but as long as it's not orange or whatever. But seriously, we probably should talk about color, but I think that this would help piggyback off of the project that is going in by the hardware store as well, right? So you could have tenants either at the lofts or the proposed hardware building. Another place for people to park in the garage.
And Ralph, I know I was driving by it. There's a little bit of an elevation change, but any concern, or would that all be part of the site work to get that built up and flat?
Yeah, it'd be part of the project, George. If it needs fill or if we need to dig out some, we always could. Jim is putting together some numbers for the project, and you'll probably see something in the budget as far as if you guys want to, of course, for a project like this.
And do we own that land or do we have right of way?
It's state right of way. We have, and I'm getting some additional title work done because we own the reserve strip, and the state owns up until here, but we have lease rights with the state. To me, I consider this to be, minor improvements. I mean, not building a structure on here, but, we do have lease rights from the state. The state actually came in, and we were just talking about Stevens Street. Stevens Street was a state route, through the whole town, even through downtown. Then this bridge came in the late 70s or early 80s, and then transferred Stevens Street to the village. But there's some land assembly issues here, probably from the late 70s. I'm not sure they did everything right with our reserve strip, but we own the reserve strip up to about the piers, and then we have lease rights further north.
No, I'm all fine with beautifying or trying to incorporate new stuff, but is there any concerns, safety concerns at all being underneath the bridge, things falling? I don't know. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I've seen this work elsewhere. I'm trying to think if LaGrange had something. Jason, I don't know if you're still on there, Jason. Have you seen this work under bridges? I know, obviously we heard that, fluids sometimes come down from above, so I think that's all part of the analysis we have to do the next couple of months. I don't know if the drainage needs to be improved, but you're talking about items coming off of the bridge from cars or?
Cigarette butts.
I guess just everything and all the above, just.
I know if you head up to Logan Square, when you get off at Fullerton and Western over there, and you're going on Logan Boulevard, you go underneath the Kennedy and there's a big skate park there. It's pretty cool. Seeing this space under the bridge as sort of like wasted land and finding a productive way to use it with recreation is pretty popular. There's a great like mountain bike trails skills park in Seattle, I think it is, under one of the bridges as well. So you see it.
Is this something we screen off, or is it something you enhance? Is it something you want to see from the lofts, or is it something, are you putting tree lines there?
Well,
that's the question I have. Is it something we want to enhance and want to show off and everybody can see it from everywhere, or is it something that's?
I believe the Park District is going to have signage there and benches there for people to sit. And they do have some landscape work in the project, but I don't know the extent of it, Ken. I've basically been involved with the concrete pad.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great use of the land. As long as it's not like a big purple screen or something that doesn't.
Well, that's where I think the colors, I don't think it can be blue. I mean, I guess it's subjective, but if it was just blue, it might look out of place. Maybe some other color.
You don't like Detroit colors, do you, George?
Like the Lions.
Lions blue. There you go. Honolulu
That was
blue.
Honolulu blue or whatever it is, right?
It is Honolulu blue. You're right. No, I think they want it to be visible because we even kicked it around. Do you put this at Tri-Central? Do you put it at Safety Village? I think long term, I know I'm going to upset people who have infinity for those little houses on, by the Safety Village, but I don't know if that gets utilized as much as it could be if it was but that maybe that becomes more of a kids park one day. So just some options, and this is more available than those sites as of now.
Yeah, and just so you know, that rust is there because they wanted it there. That's a Corten steel. That's an architectural feature like the Picasso. It's supposed to rust.
Well, is it true, Rick? You would know this project started in the late 70s and then it ran out of funding. Is that true? And then so they probably went with
that. I don't know, but I do know it was built like in 81 or something like that, 82, right in that area.
Yeah, I wish we had what Burr Ridge has on 55. I mean, that's a cool looking bridge, but that's all right.
Well, this particular, like I said, this architecture includes Corten steel, which is meant to rust.
Okay.
Oh, well, things change.
Hey, Ron, we could get the art and culture to paint murals on it. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
Around the rust.
Well, that's just it. I mean, you guys could make it and just incorporate it, make the whole thing look more industrial just to fit the whole facade. I mean, instead of the orange and pinks and whatever colors, just keep them black and
There you go.
cement and make it cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And as far as anything coming down from the bridge, when we had Heritage Fest, or I think, no, it was Keepataw Days, we had the band underneath that bridge on the other side in the small metro lot. And in the rain, the band kept playing, everybody danced, and nothing came down. So
No Dave Matthews Band driving above. Turbos.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was thinking of. Yes.
I think it doesn't, even when it rains, nothing comes, unless somebody's throwing stuff over the bridge, there's nothing going to come underneath it or through it.
Well, this is to make sure the party doesn't end, huh?
No,
Yeah.
nothing comes through the bridge deck. It's all pipe drainage.
So you can work out there in the thunderstorms is what you're saying.
yeah,
Yep.
Oh, by the way, just a little off topic here. We should think about making Front Street one way. I know, Chief, you brought that up, but I tried going down that the other day.
There's a lot of traffic right now with.
And if you want to have parking where that sewer is right there, you know, like maybe you have parallel parking there. I don't know, but just that might be something we might want to, because there's no way you could get two cars.
Yeah, especially with all the pickup at the.
I fit through there. You just got to have some tenacity.
Yeah, but if you do that, Rick, what you do is you'll force people to go behind it, and then that's where the garage opening is. So that.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that somewhere along the line, that was an engineering judgment call that we changed to narrow the streets, and that wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
And now with these big mirrors that we have on the super pickups that are driving around, they don't fit. You're right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that was a decision made on purpose, albeit a bad one.
They didn't take.
The planners call that traffic calming. You're forced to go slow.
Yeah, right. It was cheapening the roadway also is what it was.
They didn't take into account the F-150s and their mirrors.
Well, they saved 1.5 feet of pavement. That was the whole purpose.
I'm in agreement on making it one way, by the way, if you're taking.
Which way,
votes.
Dave?
Heading west,
Yeah, I think
because
that's.
the way the parking is, and then you go around the north side, which is what Canal Street is that called, and to make that gives
River.
you the
Right. But
river.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I just think we need to, once again, we're going to have to coordinate with our future, because if I recall, I don't remember all the names, but the people building on the Ace Hardware were also putting parking in along the street. So we want to make sure that we can utilize that. So we could fix, it'd be like the wall that had the holes in it and you run out of fingers putting them in there. So we got to be careful that when we fix one thing, we don't cause a new problem.
Well, and I think with Marbella too, that was one of the items we asked them to do, is do a traffic circulation plan, right, Jason? So maybe we can include this and
Right.
make sure. Yep.
And if we go one way, can't we then change the parking instead of parallel to be just pull in on diagonal through the whole thing?
I think near in front of the condos you can, Janelle, because I
Yeah.
think it juts in, but where you're looking here, I think it's.
No, yeah, there you can't, but at least you
Yeah.
could add in probably about 10 spots if we didn't do parallel
Yeah.
anymore.
Good idea. Huh,
Diagonal. I like diagonal.
That's right.
Sorry, Jason, the planners are going to lose this one.
I've already died a little bit. I already have.
I think diagonal just makes it easier to park.
I like diagonal. I'm just opposed to one-way streets. I don't know why you would restrict the amount of traffic in front of a business. That's my soapbox.
Oh, because I've almost gotten a car accident there like 10 times.
You should
And
be
I
driving-
ride as close to the side as I possibly can.
During the
Chief,
parade,
did you-
Jason, we could go back the other way.
All right. Anything else, George?
Nothing on that one.
Okay. All right. Next up, Army Corps.
Yeah, nothing like ending the meeting or the year with an Army Corps update. Sounds exciting. But yeah, I want to talk about a couple of these projects that we have coming up. This is the Section 219 program. We received funding for about $1.5 million last year, and this will happen in the spring. I may have sent this out, just want to update everybody here is that the project did get reduced somewhat due to funding. These projects, federal jobs typically do come in higher than a local job. More paperwork, more requirements, but so this one came in a little higher, so we decided to keep it within budget. We might even get a little bit back. We'll see from our contribution that we've already made. But the line would basically go from out here east of 4th Street all the way to Walker. Previously, we had it bid in packages because we thought this might happen to run it north to the tracks and then run it south to the connection by Franciscan. And those legs of the project both came in considerably higher, and we can get much better prices doing local programs. So this will be the project for next year. It's still a really good project. It's a good start to get water utility out to the east part. It's a really ugly job, as Jim Kankar will tell you. So it's good to have the feds do it or oversee it, I should say. But yeah, this will be the project come spring, and then we're in again for Section 219. I saw in our federal lobbyist update today that with the COVID bill and then also some spending bills, this program was brought back again, greater numbers than last year even. So potentially we'll have funding for next year. We already put in for it, and a little bit more of a traditional program to replace old water main in the older sections of town. We have about $1.7 million worth of projects. So we should know the next few months if we receive that funding, but hopefully we keep it going. We definitely have enough projects. So this one will be slightly reduced, but then next year we're in for another group of projects, and then you'll see our traditional water main replacement come budget time.
So the page with the 7 locations, is that just normal projects, or is that part of the 219?
Basically, we just had that's part of the 219.
Okay. Correct. All right, got it.
And some of those we might knock off anyway, and it was more just an application to get in with the feds, and we have enough undersized water main. Even if we do a couple of them next year ourselves, we'll be able to insert other ones. We have plenty of projects.
So even if the 219 does not fund these,
you might still see a couple of them in our local program.
yeah, we might fund it. Yeah, that's what I was getting.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think there's really no hurry out here. We still need to see what the Forge is doing with, Walker Road. We're close to presenting some options on how that'll lay out with our engineer. Again, it's one of those things where, Rick, you touched on it last time. We don't want to run a water main all the way north when Forge may be several years away from a phase 2. So there's some things that have to fall into place. So it's a good, it's not the end of the world that we didn't go north here yet. We can add that later on. The southern leg to the Franciscan is a good project, but we can get that done locally. And we thought of even putting that in for community development block grant funding. We do have a block in town, according to the new census, that does qualify. It's in this area, probably because of the Franciscan sisters. So that's a good project for a grant of that nature. So we'll get those projects done, and then eventually we'd like to run it even further east. But this is a good start.
Well, I don't think it'd hurt to cut off Walker Road either by going south, protecting that tract of land right there to the west.
Yep.
In other words, we'd have utility there is my point.
To the west or east, Rick?
Well, I'm talking about the piece. Let's see if I'm reading that right. Oh, that is Franciscan right there, right?
Yeah.
The southeast quadrant.
Yep.
That's already
southwest.
Franciscan Village, right? So then it'd be I'm talking about the piece by the Slovenian Center. So that would be to the east.
Correct.
Yeah.
So And I expect in the new year, early on, we'll talk about Walker Road a little bit more. It just wasn't ready. We want to get the Forge in, talk to them a little bit about it, but we're trying to show some 3D images of how an overpass could look and, gain some support that way, but that'll happen early next year. So good project though for the spring.
Would water go over the railroad or under the railroad?
Under. Yeah, well, our project was just to run it right to the railroad. We weren't going to go under.
No, but what I'm saying is if a bridge goes in there, I don't know from an engineering standpoint, we'll leave it up to the engineers. Anyway, anything else on?
Yeah, the other two on the Army Corps and just working with our consultant on, we've talked about the I&M Canal, for several years and dredging and improvements. I think if you look at it, now Ralph and the Public Works Department's done a great job on, just the bubblers. We're going to install 2 more bubblers next year. I think the electric's already out there. It's starting to look passable and it looks good. There's not the stench anymore. I think long-term we'll need to look at a project, but the strategy that we're going to look at now, and it's a longer-term planning strategy, I should say. There's a couple of federal grants or authorizations and existing authorities that Congress has that we're going to look at a planning project. I bring these projects here. I mean, the canal's always needed some love and care here. This goes back to 1917. You can see, the I&M Canal in the downtown. This is my favorite. This is Public Works boat at the time, got caught in there. So it's always had some challenges. It's become our kind of stormwater detention facility, but we do identify with it. We're proud of it. But I think looking at it long-term is kind of an aquatic restoration type project. And again, it's not, turning this into a wetland. It's aligning interests with the Corps. If they have a need, they have jurisdiction over this body of water, even though we own it. So working with them hand in hand, I think makes sense. And we may have to,
George, in reading through that, I just want to bring it up because I'm not sure I understood it. Have they now conceded that it is not navigable?
No, that has to, practically they have, but.
Saying as long as they know it's dammed on both sides, how can it be?
I think that, Jason, isn't that that has to be a designation?
That is literally an act of Congress, yes.
Act of Congress would have to change it.
Well, I understand that, but the first thing that Congress is going to ask is it navigable? So for people who don't know, how do we get it defined as not being so?
I think that's what this study part address.
What do you need a study? The goddamn thing is blocked off on both ends. It's a retention pond. So what is there to study? Another waste of money.
Well,
okay. I guess from
it's their money.
Yeah.
What are you trying? I guess if you get it called non-navigatable, does that lead you to a better project here in Lamont? I don't know. It means you can install dams, but is that the best project?
The dams are already there is my point, George. So if it's dammed, how can it be navigable? We don't have locks to get over the dams. So
but I'm not sure changing that designation.
Anything navigating can only go between the blockades of the dam. That's it.
I just think for getting that designation, if we were, lucky enough to get it, does that change any of our problems? I don't know if it does. Maybe it does, but that's why I think it's just kind of looking at it from a water standpoint. Is there ways you can raise the water in areas? Can you do it through a weir system? At K Steel Road, can you? Those are some of the things, but we can't do locally. We have to partner with the Corps on whether or not they make sense. But so I think it's kind of both strategies and see where we get a lot of these funding. Yeah, it's someone's money, but we think we can get the first $100,000 paid for through these federal programs, and then you just see where you're at. The point is, I know we talked about dredging it. None of these programs that are out there really provide funding for dredging. So we have to kind of bend what we want to do with it a little bit too. I know dredging would be preferred for everybody's standpoint, but that would be a couple $1 million and there's no funding for it. So if we want to fix the walls, we want to aerate the water, we may have to go into one of these programs to get those things done. So. I think it looks better than it's ever it has though, Ralph. Good job. Or
It
whoever.
does. Yes.
I thought it was pretty cool by K.A. Steel when you saw the fish, during the flood, Ralph, when the water went over the
Yep.
tracks over there. I've never seen more carp.
You know, it's like,
Down by the forge
You know,
too, right? They found some.
Yeah.
and that's important to remember, guys, is, you know, what Rick said. It's a retention pond and it takes, you know, 90% of our stormwater down the hill. So it has to function. That canal has to function for us. And I know we want it to look good, but it has to function. And that's the key.
Yeah. You know, one other, this is so annoying to me, but would MWRD be able to weigh in on that, Ralph? Because, you know, this helps their water management also. Could they help us go to the cores? I guess where I'm headed.
Well, the MWRD treats our sanitary. So this
Right.
is storm. This is storm
Right,
coming
but-
down the hill. So there might be a connection there, Rick.
But I mean, that was the whole point of getting the sewer separated so that we don't have combined sewer, to minimize the amount of water going to the treatment plant. So they're
Right.
not, you know, so
That's something that we need to look into if they can help
Yeah.
us.
I don't know. I don't know. Who did you write that letter to, John? I forgot the heading on the letter, but I saw the letter. And it just boggles my mind that somebody who's a general or colonel or whatever can't come down and look at the damn thing and make a decision based on what he sees. It's mind-boggling to me.
Colonel Resinger.
I will say it's probably tough to get him down here, but their staff has been really good, Rick. I know that, you know, and on some of our Zoom meetings, and it's the same staff that worked with us on the water main projects, and they get the problem. I think they want to work with us, and they said they've been really good. There's one gentleman.
I mean, they can't get rid of the regulations either, even if they don't like them, but
Yeah.
they could. And the fact that you have potentially their ear, that's good.
Yep. Yeah, maybe we even through a program like this, we can look at a wider stretch of the canal too, rather than just the downtown. You know, not too far, but you know, because there's problems all the way down with even by the Forge and K Steel Road where it gets real. What's that out? There's a name for it that everyone has here locally, but the green algae that forms, and so maybe we can look at a wider stretch.
I mean, does dredging it help solve any issues for MW? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that something you pitched to MWRD? Like, does that help with our stormwater retention? Does it give us more bandwidth?
When Living Waters they looked at it, they were saying if we dredge our portion of it, it's just like a bathtub. So there's silt on either side. We'd have to dredge the whole canal. He said in a matter of years we'll be back up again.
Yeah. And the key, really the area by KA Steel, if you could there was a way to control it over there, the water level, you know.
Well, that's
Yeah.
kind of why I brought up the MWRD, John, is because I'm afraid that if we push too hard that it's a retention pond, they might say, well, that's Lamont's retention pond.
Yeah.
Where if we get into stormwater management and we bring MWRD into the play, you know, that would maybe help us.
Yeah. And that's where I was going with too. And I understand, okay, if we dredge it and we dredge half of it, and maybe instead of having 6 feet of silt, it's a bathtub, we now have 3 feet of silt. I don't know if what I'm trying to get at is how do we get funding for the, you know, for the dredging, you know, again, cosmetically, we want it to look as good as possible, right? So cosmetically, is it taking care of the walls first? Is it dredging it? You know, I don't know the answer to that, but Ralph, you're like, hey, forget all that. This is our frickin' drainage.
Well, it is, but you know, I mean, if the canal was dredged, you know, we'd make the bathtub deeper. And when you do that, you increase volume, and it might, you know, limit the amount of CSOs, combined sewer overflows, for the MWRD.
That's what I'm getting at. Is there something we could pitch to them that would help, you know?
They're aligned with their interest, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the Corps does dredge, and they, you know, like in New Orleans, at the base of the Mississippi River, they dredge that so that they eliminate flooding in Minnesota or Iowa, that's why they do it. And so there, and that is paid for through the Corps. Now, I don't know what their funding mechanism is right now, or how good it is, I should say, but I don't know. It just seems like if we built up a team, it would be beneficial for us.
And again, not to, but is dredging, I think before, one of the issues is what do you do with it? Is this something we could throw on Tri-Central property to the west? I don't know.
I think it's considered some form of special waste.
I would say
It might be
absolutely not.
more to cover.
Yeah.
Absolutely not, you said?
I would
No,
say
I said it
absolutely
might
not.
be, oh, okay, Ralph said that, yeah. It'd be more material that we'd have to cover.
Send it on a barge and
protect
send it west.
To minimize mitigating the contamination.
There was an old study, maybe 07 or something, or maybe not that far back, but it is special waste. And at the time they're looking at laying it out along the path, along the reserve strip. The problem is you got to take all this wet waste out and then dry it somewhere, and then it could go into a landfill. So it's like $1 million to do that. It's pretty expensive.
And it won't smell either.
No. I'll be out there with Febreze or something every day.
All right, anything else, George, on this?
No, that's it on the Army Corps.
Anyone have any questions? All right.
Well, unfinished business. I just had one, well, first of all, we're the holidays kind of hit us, but we're going to get together with, at least virtually, the new superintendent of Cook County Highway Department, talk about some projects locally and mainly signalization projects, although we'll still talk about our bridge. There's Cook County money available, but 131st Street needs to be studied. But the other item that we've already kind of put into the queue, Ralph, you want to go, we talked about the crosswalk by Rolling Meadows maybe 3 or 4 months ago now. Where we're at, I know the mayor just signed a letter. We're going to put it in for a study, correct, Ralph?
Yeah, so we put an application in for permit for the crosswalk across 127 at Rolling Meadows and Briarcliff due to that petition that was submitted. So the county came back to us with their remarks, their 27 items of concern that they had for us. And they basically wanted to know why the village is pursuing this and what the village wants to do and where it came from. So that letter that George just mentioned that the mayor composed basically tells them where it came from and what we want to do and why we're pursuing it. So we're going to submit that to the county. And like George said earlier in the meeting, we're only, we're at the mercy of IDOT and Cook County, and how fast they want to work. And it's not very fast right now. So we're going to wait word from them and see what they say, if they're willing to let us go through with it, or if they're dead against it. And that's what the letter states. It says, is this possible to give us an idea if you guys will approve this without the village dumping more money into it? So that's basically where we're at with that. So.
Have you guys reached out to Morrison on this? Is he ready to carry it?
I have not done that.
Yeah,
No, I don't mean you, Ralph.
Okay.
I was wondering
No, I
if
mean,
George or the mayor had
just-
talked to Sean.
I just wonder if, staff's a better spot for it because it is technical in nature and, I don't know, we could try Morrison, but I think we need to get some more information first. And is that what we want Morrison to carry for us? If we could choose one thing, maybe, but, well, I think we'll get some more information from staff first.
No, I think you ought to do a hell of a lot more than one thing.
Right. You got to start with one thing, though. I think that's the key.
Yes.
So yeah, we're gonna see what the county comes back with. If they're in favor of it, letting us do it, and
Sorry, Rob. Is this the sidewalk going right across from Rolling Meadows Drive right across to Briarcliff?
it would be 125 to 150 foot west of Rolling Meadows Drive. So a little bit up the hill.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where they recommend to put the crossing and not in that valley.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So
and
I will put a number in this year's budget as well. Just put some numbers together to try to budget for it if the county lets us do it.
Yeah, and I think I'd like to start with the Cook County Superintendent, and then we have other avenues, but, and then we could see if we need to get Morrison involved.
I think the best approach is you tell them it's a safety issue and that we're not going to be responsible for. There's kids crossing there right now at a dangerous, like at Rolling Meadows, where it's not that safe, and it's more of a safety issue and an urgent issue.
Plus, you got the two parks. You got the core Centennial Park. That's
You got the kids that want to go to ride their bikes to school. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on over there.
And the new park over at Rolling Meadows is a big one. And I really think the sidewalk is only on the north side or the south side, isn't it? Is there a sidewalk on the north side going across the highway?
No, just a
No.
small. No, it stops.
Yeah, so it's just the south
Just the
side.
south.
So that's the other one. Not that the sidewalk goes all the way down there, but it should go all the way down to Rolling Meadows.
They do
Okay.
something, St. Alphonsus, press the button and the lights go on to stop traffic.
Yeah, it would be a whole project with safety islands in the middle, beacons, ADA curbs. It would be a whole, safety crossing. So it's quite involved, and there'd be sidewalk extensions as well on the south side. So they KLOA is the traffic engineers we use. They recommended the crossing go up by Thornberry, which is probably 500 feet west of Rolling Meadows. But you know what's going to happen there. The crossing is going to be there and the people are not going to cross there. They're going to cross right at Rolling Meadows where they are now.
Yep.
So I just think, we need to be careful. Like I talked to George earlier, we just don't want to be accepting liability and that's it. Because there's a lot here with that area. So we'll see what the county says and then we'll take it from there.
All right. Anything
Thank you.
else? Anything else with Cook County?
Nope, that's it. That's all I had.
All right, cool. All right. Any new business? Audience participation? I know there are a lot of people out there.
I didn't see, did not see anybody.
No one's out there?
Raise your hand. Nope. Just us.
I thought we had someone out there. All right. No executive session, correct?
Correct.
Okay, time to adjourn the committee of the whole at 8:20 PM. So everyone have a great holiday week. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, enjoy. And let's hope 2021's a lot better.